Hi, teammates all around the world. My name is Sean J. McCall, and I am your host for this edition of IG Live Let's Talk. I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I'm going to get right into it so you out there can get some valuable information from my guests. So I am going to drag her in. Where is it at? Where's she at? There she is. All of you that have just joined, how you doing? And she should be popping up right now. Erin,
Sean, how are
what's
you?
good in the hood?
It's good to see you again.
It's been a while.
It's been a few years.
Yeah. So let me. Can you just introduce yourself briefly, and then we're going to hop right
Yeah,
into it.
absolutely. I'm Erin Jones. I'm born and raised from New Jersey in the US. I played 6 years of college basketball at three different schools after I got my master's and my bachelor's, and then I went overseas in got my master's May 2022, went over that following year to the UK where I played in Scotland. I played for the Caledonia Gladiators in the WBBL. And then after that year, I ended up playing in the next year. I played in Germany for Wings Leverkusen, just out of Cologne. And now we're here.
Okay. So for those of you that haven't seen Erin before or know her story, um, I got in contact with Erin many years ago before not many years, a couple years ago before she came overseas, and I have to say she was one of the most prepared players that I've ever talked to as far as knowing what she wanted, researching where she was going, things like that. I was incredibly impressed. So much so that I also asked her to write a blog post for my
Mm-hmm.
website, which she did, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, so we go a little bit back. We've been keeping in touch this whole time too. So I
Yeah,
know your story, and now it's time to share it to the people, and that's what we're going to do right now, right?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love it.
So let's talk briefly about your last season in college, and how it came that you came overseas.
Yeah. So it was pretty much the last year of college where I really decided I definitely wanted to go overseas. And for me, my last year of college, so this was my sixth
Mhm.
year, it wasn't the best, honestly. It was statistically, it was not that great. On film, not that great. But because of the previous years that I played well, I went throughout the whole agency process. So I found a great agent who I know you know too. Love him, great agency. And from there, the rest is really history, where it was smooth sailing for me, where he reached out to a few other international teams, and I was stuck between the Caledonia Gladiators in Scotland and then another team in Portugal. And then I decided to go with Caledonia for a few reasons. But for me, I think first year out of college, one of the things where I decided to go to the UK instead of Portugal was the English speaking side of it.
Mhm.
Now, if you have been to Scotland, it is, yes, it's English. It
Is
is
it really
English.
English?
It's English, but it was so hard for me to understand at times, where I felt like I was in a whole other country that didn't speak English at all. So I got used to
Mhm.
it, but some of the just terminology and the accent is so strong, especially where you go throughout Scotland. I'm like, dang, I thought this was going to be easy, but so that was one of the reasons why I went to Scotland in the first place, among a few others. But for me, that was a great first year, and just a great experience in general.
I remember we talked a lot during that time before you went over, and
Yeah,
when you were trying to decide whether you were going to go there or Portugal. And I remember you saying that about the English. It might be a better way to enter,
yeah,
The
yeah,
European market, the overseas market, to go somewhere and play, understand the language, and not have to worry
right,
about that part.
right.
Um, what do you think about the whole agent process that you went through? Actually, it was quite easy for you, but um, if there was anything you could do over again about the agent process, would there be anything? Because you were really prepared, I have to
Yeah,
say.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I did, like, going into that my last year of college when I really decided, hey, I want to go play overseas. I didn't know much about how to sign with an agent, how to go about doing any of that. So a lot of it was just myself doing research,
Mhm.
just looking stuff up on Google. I think I had a friend overseas at the time who I reached out to. So
Mhm.
just kind of getting help from different resources really helped me. And then I kind of had guidance that way and knew where to go from there. And that's when I started to reach out to a bunch of different agencies,
Mhm.
talked to a few of them, and then kind of really narrowed down that list and found out who I really liked, which was Scores First. So
Mhm.
for me, it wasn't bad at all. I liked it. It was nice and easy. I think I also just clicked with that
Yeah.
agency, with my agency too, which always helps.
And I spoke before about you writing a blog on my website.
Yeah.
That was actually about advice to rookies, right?
hmm
And how did your rookie season go?
So it went well. So on the court, it was for me. I was doing really well. I was getting a few Player of the Weeks. I think I got Player of the Month one
Mhm.
time. So for my performance, I was doing really well. My team was doing well. I loved my teammates, which I found really helps when you're overseas is
Mhm.
connecting with your teammates. Um, Unfortunately for me, my season was cut short because I had a season-ending injury at the time, so I probably was there for 5 months.
Mhm.
So I wasn't able to finish out the remainder of the season, wasn't able to do playoffs or anything, and I went home a little bit
Mhm.
early. So that was unfortunate because I really did enjoy my time there. I liked Scotland. I loved the coaches, the coaching staff, teammates, like I said. But it's part of it, injuries and all. It's part of the game. So it was just how I was going to come back from that and what I was going to do going forward.
That's I know your story, of course, so I
Yeah.
know that that team treated you well,
Yeah.
like through the injury. That could have been a totally different situation,
Right.
but actually that team treated you well. Do you think it was purely based on the team and how they were, or did you also think your agent had some influence on that? Because of course the agent needs to talk to the team and figure out how your injury status goes and your recovery time and things like that. And then if it's decided to cut the contract, then to negotiate
Yeah.
negotiate something after that. But do you think it was both the team and the agent that influenced how it was a good experience for you
Yeah.
rather than a negative one?
Yeah, I think especially in my situation, my agent had always had my back. That's one thing I love about him is he always has my back, always supports me. So I think he definitely did have a say in the treatment I was getting, the rehabbing and all the recovery that I was getting and just making sure I was on the right steps to recovery.
Mhm.
And when you're there and you're injured, you're not playing, obviously sometimes you're not as happy because you're not
Mhm.
doing what you want to do when you're there. So he was always there checking in with me, and for me that was huge.
Mhm.
Just making sure, and he's somebody that says you can call me, text me any time of day, whether it's midnight, 5 a.m. A little bit there here and there. I might not respond right away depending on the time, but the door is always open when it comes to him. So I think he was definitely helpful throughout that whole
Mhm.
process.
I mean, I always preach one of the things that I tell players when I talk to them in consultations is that I always preach the reason why you need an agent is not so much
Mm-hmm.
for looking for a job for you. That's what they do every day, look for jobs for their players, right?
Yep.
Um, but you know the real strength of your agent when one of two things happen: you get hurt or you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know how good your agent is because that stuff that
Right.
doesn't happen every day.
Right.
So they really have to act fast. They have to act efficient. They have to act professional to
Right.
be in the best interest of the player and not of the team.
Right.
And that's when you find out how good your agent is. And I mean, so shout out Ty, Scores
Uh-huh.
First. Shout out my
Yep.
guy. So that's when you really know if you have a good agent and not when.
Yeah.
And that's why I preach to all players they need an
Yeah.
agent. They need an agent at some point.
Yeah. And for me, going off of what you were saying, Sean, was that relationship side of things is so important to me, even throughout college, was I always wanted to have a relationship with my coaches, no matter what coach it was.
Mhm.
But really being able to connect with Ty, and before I even signed with him, we got on a Zoom call with my parents, and we talked, and we just really got to know each other first, and then we went from there. And I didn't receive that same relationship from other agencies. So right away, I was like, oh, okay, this is a huge positive with this agency that I'm currently signed to. So for me, that's something that's huge because exactly like you were saying was who will help me and who will be there for me when something goes wrong, essentially. And he was at the time. He is at the time. So
What when you look back at your rookie season, even though it was cut short,
yeah,
is there anything that you would give yourself advice to back then that you know now? Now you're a couple years
yeah.
in. You know you've had your experiences. Is there anything looking back on your rookie season that you think maybe you were naive about, or that you wish you would have maybe done a little bit different?
I think for me, the one thing that comes to mind is be a little more proactive when it comes to taking care of your body. So coming from college, we probably talked about this last
Right.
time when I was on, but coming from college, you're used to having an athletic trainer on call 24/7 for the most part, especially at the Division I level.
Right.
So going from that to when you get overseas, you know, you might see somebody once a week. You might see somebody twice a week, but that depending on obviously it depends on the club and the league, but it's not like it is in college.
Right.
So I wish I would have probably done a better job at taking care of my body, and even if something just a small little thing doesn't feel right is kind of taking care of that before it starts to linger or get worse at all. So that's one thing that I would have done a lot better, and I wish I did. And also come prepared. So I learned that overseas, you don't always have access to the foam rollers, certain bands, or like recovery boots. So if you can try to bring them, obviously you only have a certain amount of
Right.
bags you can take overseas because you also don't always have access to that overseas when there's not always stores selling that stuff.
Right.
Um, so I think I also learned for my first year, I learned what I should pack and also probably take some other stuff away to include the more important and essential items. So that was another thing was I also learned I packed too many like nice clothes, not
You're in
enough
your sweats every day anyway.
yeah, exactly. Not enough basketball shorts, t-shirts. I was doing laundry like 4 times a week at a time because we're also doing workouts 2, 3 times a day where, obviously I'm changing clothes in between.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm running out of clothes every other day. And I'm like, all right. And overseas, they don't always have a washer and a dryer. They have a washer, but
The
you gotta,
washer. They got the
but
racks.
you have the racks. So that's taking at least a day to dry. So that's one thing where from my first year to last year in Germany, I definitely improved on. So I'm
Packing
glad
is
I
huge.
did too. Oh
What to
yeah.
pack is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, so in between your first and your second season,
Yeah.
how was that summer trying to prepare for the next season for you? Now you've already been 1 year pro. It got cut short
Yep.
due to injury.
Yep.
How did you prepare yourself for your second season?
I felt like I was a lot better off that summer knowing what I was probably getting into. Obviously, after college, yeah, they say it's professional, you're overseas, but you really don't know until you get there. So I knew I had to work my butt off that summer. Conditioning more, lifting more, just playing more basketball. I tried to incorporate more pickup games where it's more live situations because obviously you can drill stuff all day, you can practice all day, get on the shooting gun all day, but that doesn't really, that's not super game situation. So I was trying to assimilate basketball drills, game like things into my workouts, which I think really helped me in the end. But I was definitely just having 1 year under your belt, you just feel a lot more prepared knowing what to expect when you get there.
This is a question I think I've never asked any of my female guests. Um, is there a huge difference between the hoop style in American women's basketball and European women's? Of course, I know the men. It's a huge difference. That's why I named my book "Same Name, Different Game." Shameless plug. But I was always wondering about women if it's such a drastic difference between the women's game at home and overseas.
I think for me I noticed that what there was a big difference was it's a lot more physical. Is the
Mm,
physicality and the speed.
mm,
So in college, if you touch somebody, okay, they might not call a foul, but if you touch them again, oh, that's definitely a foul. In overseas, whether it's the UK or in Germany, oh, you could push a lot more than you can in
right,
college and get away with it.
right.
So definitely just the physicality and then the speed. So obviously it depends on the tempo, the style of play for different
Mm,
teams. Some teams still play fast, some slow it down, tend to slow it down. But I think overall, just I saw that there were just a bunch. The style of play was a lot higher and
mm,
a lot quicker.
mm.
And I think that's something you also get used to too. And it does, I think, depend on where you come from in
Right.
college, because in college we played pretty fast, so it wasn't a dramatic difference. But you definitely notice the physicality. I would say that's the number one thing
Mhm.
where there was a huge difference.
Did you get the typical no calls by refs because you were a foreigner? Like someone would hit you and it was like, I'm not calling that, but you hit somebody else and they're like, beep.
I don't I don't think I noticed that
Mhm,
at all. I try to get on the good side of refs,
mhm.
where it's like I'll chat you up, let's talk a little
Right.
bit. Like I might compliment a good call, say good call ref or something,
Okay.
just get on your good
Oh, so
side.
so you ass
But
kisser. Okay, I
a
got you.
little
No
bit,
problem.
just a little bit. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But no, I really I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that actually.
Okay. So you have the summer in between your first and your second year.
Yep.
You're getting yourself together. Your agent approaches you about coming to Germany, or were there more offers? How did you feel in the time between like you were in the summer and kind
Hmm.
of anxious to get another job, or how was that process for you?
I think for me it went well. I For this year it went quicker than that first
Mm-hmm.
year. So I signed earlier. I knew where I was going earlier. So Germany, so Wings Leverkusen, they were the first team to reach out to Ty, and then obviously he reached out to me. And from there, we really talked about that, talked about the contract, everything that we thought about his opinion, my opinion. And from there, we thought it was a great fit. So I really signed. I probably slept on it for a few days,
Wow.
but decided I wanted to go to Germany, and I didn't want to wait because obviously it is a waiting game. You don't want to wait too long
Mm-hmm.
and have them find somebody else and then
Right.
replace you. So it is tricky when it comes to the timing, but I had a good feeling that this team, that Germany, was the right fit for me. So I signed with them. I don't know when it was, but it was a little bit earlier than
Mm-hmm.
that first year. So
Right.
I wouldn't say I was anxious at
Mm-hmm.
all. But I was just excited to go somewhere new too.
I got a quick question about your very first season, your
Okay.
rookie season. You get
Yeah.
your first check.
Hmm.
What did you splurge on with your first professional check?
You see, I'm a saver, so I don't really. That thing, it probably went. Most of it probably went in my bank account. So I'm very good when it comes to saving money. So
Mhm.
I don't even remember if I bought anything, because if anything, it was probably like a good meal or something.
Mhm.
Because I'm just, and then I think about it too, is whatever I buy there, I have to bring it home with me. So I have to make sure, you know, whatever I buy, it will fit in my bag or in my carry-on, so I don't have to pay for the other bag.
Right.
So, but I do think I probably saved a good amount of it
Okay.
because I'm a saver. So,
Okay. So now you sign in Leverkusen,
yeah.
and you get out there. How was preseason?
So preseason was good for the first week or so, and then I was probably there for about a week until I got injured again.
Mhm.
Um, and from there until a few months later, it was just dealing with this same ongoing muscle injury, which was frustrating
Mhm.
because it's first week was awesome. You're super excited. I love the workouts, practices, getting used to playing with everybody, and then you know right away it kind of gets cut short a little bit where I'm out for a few weeks, come back, it's not healed properly or not. I need more time, so injured again. So it was just this ongoing process. So it was Germany. I love Germany.
Mhm.
It was just a tough place just because of the
Right.
injury. which is part of the game, but obviously you don't want especially the start of your season where you're missing games, missing
Right,
practices, and you don't want it to start that way.
right. So I actually that's a good crossover to my next point because actually I wrote a blog piece for tomorrow that I'll release tomorrow about injuries overseas and when you should push an injury, when you should sit,
Yeah.
and so I wrote a pretty interesting blog piece that I'll release tomorrow. Did you feel any pressure from your team? Like you're there, then you're not there. Then you try to push it, then it gets
Yeah.
worse. And like it's like a real up and down. Did
Yeah.
you feel like any real pressure from the team side?
I felt a little bit of pressure.
It's normal, I
I
think.
think, yeah, I think so too. I think some of it was from myself, knowing that, hey, our first game is within a few weeks, which means, okay, I have to be good by this time so I
Mhm.
could practice all these days with no other issues, and then I could
Right,
play. Um, so I think it was a little bit of pressure from myself and then others around me. But like you were saying, I absolutely do think it's normal. Because when you think about it, your job is to go overseas and play basketball, and
right,
then you get injured and you're not doing your job. So you want to get back out there as soon as you can, as safe as you can. So it is, it's always a tough situation. Just going in, coming out, going in, just trying to make sure you're not rushing it, but then obviously you want to play.
right.
So it's always just the tough balance, and I've always kind of been that way is you want to play, but maybe it's not best that you hop in right now and you take it the slower route, which sometimes ends up being the better route
Mhm.
too.
It's always a give and take, and
Mhm.
it's an individual thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You there's a lot of outside pressures. Of course, the team wants you to play. They're paying you, and you're not playing.
Mhm.
You want to play. You probably put a lot of pressure on yourself. Um, and I think it's everybody's individual case or how they're feeling, because
Right.
us as athletes, we have to think not only short term but long term.
Long
What's
term.
good for you
Mhm.
in the long term is probably not rushing back from an injury,
Right.
right? And but on the other hand, if you rush back too soon and your stats are messed up because you're not 100% healthy or
Mhm.
as close to it as possible, nobody says, oh, she was injured when she had that slump. They say
Right.
her stats sucked, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have to really balance what you're going to do, and that sometimes is very difficult. So you were in Germany for how long, from beginning to when you left? How long do you think you were
About 4 to 5 months.
there? Mm-hmm.
4 to 5 months. Um, and a lot of it was the injury
Right.
part. But like I was saying before, so I loved my time in Germany outside of
Mm-hmm.
the whole dealing with the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It was for me a lot of the reason why I love playing overseas is being able to travel and experience different cultures, different places. And so for me, Germany, outside of Cologne, it's about 3 hours from Amsterdam, Brussels, Luxembourg. So you could easily hop on a train, hop on a bus, and get to other countries. And for me, that was huge, and that's something that I love. So even though I was dealing with this injury, I was trying to balance that, but also still making sure I can try to enjoy the time that I have
Right.
there, and make the best out of every experience. Because I think that's most of what overseas is making the best out of each experience, no matter what type of experience it is.
Mm-hmm. I know you are big on mental health, and we'll get to
Yeah.
what you do outside of basketball in a minute as well. But so you're dealing with this injury. You're overseas for 3, 4, 5 months.
Yep.
You're pretty much injured the whole time.
Yep.
What does that do to you mentally?
Man, it was rough. It was rough at times. I did have great teammates though. I connected with the other imports, the other Americans that were over there, but also some of the other Germans that were there were great. They were awesome. So the team was amazing when it came to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think of any other words besides frustrating. Um, there would be days where I would feel great. I would wake up, feel great, and then 2 days pass, and then I feel this some type of pain again. And so it's such a roller coaster. But a lot of times, no matter where you are, what age, when you deal with injuries, recovery and rehabbing and getting back, it always is a roller coaster. It's never just going to go up. It's always going to go up, down. But it's just how you deal with that and how you handle that adversity. And I think from my past experience, I was able to handle that better, kind of having gone through a similar experience when I was in college. So I handled that a lot better than the first time I really dealt with an injury, and that was new to me. So yeah, frustrating, but I always try to see the positive in things. Is everything happens for a reason. And I do really believe that it will always make me, whatever type of adversity I face, obstacle I have to come across, is it will always make me a better person and player. And that's what I believe in. So that's what really keeps me going.
Did you ever think about throwing in the towel and saying, "Hey, I'm done with this"?
I think, yeah. So I definitely did.
I mean, I
Because after,
asked you that because I know the time when you were
yeah,
thinking. I was in
uh-huh,
contact with you in that time that you were
yeah,
thinking. So I know it,
yeah.
but the people out there don't know it. So go ahead and explain.
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely did. Is at that time, that was 3 years of just straight injuries. Was last year in college, that first year overseas, and then last year in Germany. So 3 years, and I'm a little bit tired of just going to PT, going to physical therapy, having to do all this stuff, which seems like it's yearly at this time. So I did actually, when I came back to the U.S. in, I think it was December. So I came back to the US. I told my agent, and I said, "Hey, I need some time just to think about if I want to keep playing or not, or if I think I should, just based off of my injury records for the last few years." And he was super supportive. He said, "Take all the time in the world. You could let me know next week, next month, or in 4 months. Let me know." So I took all that time to really figure out, hey, do I want to keep playing or am I done? And uh, in the end, ultimately, I decided I want to keep playing. So I'm still in PT. A little update is I'm still in PT for the same injury. So it's been about a year now, but it's going great. I'm lifting, I'm running, I'm doing basketball drills and all that stuff. So slow process, but it is part of just being an athlete, especially when you get to high caliber. So it's part of it. So you have to
Part of the
embrace
game.
it all. Absolutely.
What was during the time? Let's say that during the time that you were in Germany, but you were injured.
Yep.
What was? I don't want to talk about the worst time. I want to talk about the best time for you while you were injured. What was a moment where you thought, "Okay, life is good. Things are not going great. I'm injured, but life is good."
Yeah. I think there was a time, so they have like the national team break, which was in early November. So some of us took, myself, I think 4 other teammates, we took a little trip. We had maybe 4, 5 days off. So we took a trip to Spain, went to, forget where we went, to some island in Spain. And I think this was just a great reset for not just myself, but the other ones too. Just a mental and physical reset. So like I was saying, is a lot of it is being able to travel the world for me. So knowing that that's what I love also, as well as the basketball part, was making sure I still can do that when I have the opportunity to. So for me, getting outside of those lines and going to Spain was a huge reset. And I was like, all right, like I know things aren't going as I want them to go, but like look where I am right now. I'm in Spain, November, 60-degree weather. So you got to just see the positive in every situation, is what I like to
Good.
say.
Good. Actually, I'm going to scroll up a little bit because someone had a question. Where was
Hmm.
that? Marvin Basketball. I don't know if he's still watching, but Marvin Basketball asked, "Do you prefer the style of play in Europe versus the States?"
I would say Europe,
Mhm.
because for me, I like playing fast. I like playing in transition. I like being able to get the rebound and go myself and push it. So I feel like in overseas in Europe, you can do that a lot more. And the whole physicality part is I don't feel like I'm, you know, walking in eggshells about to foul everybody just by touching somebody or poking somebody. So
You're not
I
supposed to
like
be
the,
poking nobody.
you know what I mean, just like a little. But I do like the European style.
Okay. It fits your game well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk a little bit about what you do outside of the court. So I always say
Mm-hmm.
that it should, for import players especially, um, yes, you practice a lot, but you also have a lot of downtime. You have things that
Yeah.
you can do, right? So um, I always tell people they should have something else that they do besides basketball to take their mind off basketball to focus on something different. You have something. Can you tell us a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about what you do with Next Level Hoops?
Yeah. So I have it's an Instagram. It's just an Instagram page right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's at nextlevel.hoops. So what that is for me, it's a platform to really share my experiences and my story with what I kind of dealt with and went through in college. So like I think we had talked about this, but I struggled with mental health when it came to injuries and whatnot throughout my college career. So just being able to use this platform that I have and share any advice or
Mm-hmm.
anything I really have from my experience is that's what I want to do is any way I can help others from what I went through in my experience. That's exactly what I want to do. So that's what I use that for. And it's really it's I love doing it because I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do that and didn't
If you
help others
were
after
a
going through.
gatekeeper.
Yeah, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I mean, that's why I do what I do as well. I mean,
Right.
I don't know too many people that do what I do actually. And it's really
No.
weird because so many players have played overseas, yet it's very difficult to get quality information, even in
Right.
the world of uh, online everything. You can find everything, but if you Google overseas basketball, you're not going to get very many
Yeah.
things that help,
No. You'll
I think.
get broad topics that
Hmm.
most of them you probably random websites you can't trust.
Right,
So resources that are just out there.
right. So I think it's great what you're doing, and do people write to you and tell you their stories?
Yeah, I've had so when I post stuff, I do have a good amount of people reaching out and even just thanking me for spreading the word and sharing my story.
Mhm.
So I've had a good amount of responses when it comes to that, and for me, that's validation that I'm at least helping one, two, three people, and that's all I really. If I only reach those, that's fine. At least I'm reaching somebody.
Yeah,
So
I feel the same way.
that's yeah. So that's the way I take it, and it. I don't do anything else with it really. I post things in hopes that if somebody is going through or went through things that I went through, maybe I can help them just by
Mhm.
sharing my story.
I think that's how I started as well. At least I wrote the book first, and I had actually no intentions on doing anything online.
Yeah,
That wasn't my world.
yeah.
And then I started to realize how many people were asking me questions, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can use this platform to give some how-tos or some advice, and it's growing constantly,
Mhm.
and that's the cool thing.
Mhm.
And I've always said that if I help one person, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
today I get a, a DM from a player who actually is in the process of getting scammed. And
Okay.
he told me, "Oh, I've got an agent," and I said, "Okay, well, sounds a little bit fishy.
Yeah.
Send me the agent." And of course, it's the most notorious scammer in the history of scammers
Of
overseas.
course.
So right away, so I hit him back. I'm like, "No, I hope you didn't
Yeah.
already send them that money." And then he wrote me like, "Damn, I did." You know,
Yeah.
but then he was like, "Okay, thanks for warning me because it could have gone more."
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's why I think, okay, I couldn't save him in that sense,
Yeah.
but at least
Yeah.
now he knows, and he'll probably help someone
Of
else. And that's what it's
absolutely.
all about for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think even what you do is huge and knowing that like you're helping you've helped me. Like we've talked for years
Yeah,
now and I'll send you voice memos, we'll talk or I'll
yeah,
text you when I just even need advice
yeah.
because sometimes I need somebody else who's gone through it and knows how this all works
Hmm.
and for me you're one of those people that I can trust and that I rely on when I need a little bit of help too,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you too, Sean.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so last question: what's next up for you? What do you got? what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm still, my goal is to still play. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still going to play. Right now I'm 100% focused on getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in PT, like I said, I'm doing other things. I'm super excited to get back into it. I'm not rushing things. I'm not giving myself a timeline because I find that when I do that, that's when I put pressure on myself. In my head, I do have somewhat of a general timeline. But I'm not giving myself any exact dates. When I'm healthy, I'm healthy. When I'm 100%, I'm 100%. And then we go from there. But I still have scores first. I still have ties with my agent. So we've been in contact. He knows my situation, where I'm at. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting somewhere new because I would love to go to another country, experience another country, food, meet new people. But we'll see where it ends up. But I realized that I still have some more basketball in me ready
Good,
to play.
good. I am glad to hear that because I
Yeah.
know you went through some times where
Yeah.
you were doubting what was the next step, and I'm glad
Mhm.
that you took the time that you needed, you know,
Right.
and you're still taking the time that you're needing. That you're not forcing yourself back, and you're a hooper, and you need to be hooping.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
when the time is right, then you'll get back out there, and I'll be there cheering you on from afar. And I'm upset that you weren't here in Germany long enough to come
I
play where I'm
know.
close to. Right? We talked about that, and
Yeah, we did talk about that.
and it's weird because I talk to a lot of people.
Mhm.
I do the IG live with a lot of people, and I've met a couple of people, a
Mhm.
couple of lady ballers that have gone through the first league and play in Hanover, which is not too far
Okay.
from me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, and it's weird to like hook up with them in real life after doing doing an interview or writing and
Yeah.
texting and giving advice and stuff like that. So I was really looking forward to having you out there on the court and seeing you
Yeah.
play, but you never
I
know.
was
You never
gonna say you
know.
never know. You
You
never
never
know
know.
where life takes you.
Yeah. So I'll be looking forward to that, and I'll be tracking you as you know. We'll be
Of
talking
course.
as we do, and
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming on and giving your history, your view of European sports or basketball from your side, and also to talk about your mental health stuff while you were
Yeah.
injured and things like that. It's a subject that should be talked up about more.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you being open about that as well. And yeah, that's all I got for you for tonight. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your time.
Yeah. Thank you again, Sean. Always a pleasure being on here with you, and we'll be in touch as always.
Yes, we will. Get out of here.
I will. All right. You have a good one now.
You too.
Bye.
So everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm done with Erin, and she is a great guest. I've had her on before, and I know her struggles. I know her what she's gone through, and that's why I really wanted to have her on to share that side of European basketball or overseas basketball with you. So if you've been through some injuries or something like that, that you're not alone. And like I said, tomorrow I will be posting a blog post on the subject of injuries while you're overseas. I think you should check it out because it's got some good information on when you should do what. Should you push through an injury? Should you not push through an injury? And I think it'll be helpful for a lot of people that are going through similar things. Yeah, that's it for me. And I will be back. I don't know when. I don't have a guest lined up. This was a kind of spontaneous episode today, so I'll line up someone good for my next episode, and I'll post it, of course, when I figure it out. But in general, thank you for tuning in, whether you were here for 1 minute or you were here for the entire 38 minutes now. I appreciate you. If you were here for the first time, please come back another time. That's it for me. Old head out.